people coming together around a shared vision.
Accessibility for anyone to contribute.
We have ownership over the value that we create.
Art, culture, community.
Just unlocking potential. Simply put, I think of collective venturing as people coming together around a shared vision, creating together and then receiving credit for your contributions and also sharing potential upside. For example, if you're a developer, there's GitHub. You're receiving credit in a way of your commits. If you're answering a bounty, you have your commit plus something monetary, but there's really not something like that outside of GitHub. I guess it's just taking a note of how developers contribute to open source projects and enabling not only developers, but all types of skill sets, including non-technical skills, to contribute.
And it's amazing how much has been built in the open source community without any financial compensation. Could there be some sort of shared upside and having the energy of just contributing to an open project, something you care about, something you want to work on, and you have this record of what you've done and you have benefit if this project succeeds?
What's interesting about Nouns is that they created this CC0 brand and anyone can do what they want with it because their flywheel is super simple. Proliferating nouns brings more attention to the project, which means more people are going to be buying the NFTs. More NFTs means there's going to be more funds in the treasury. More funds in the treasury go back to supporting more people creating projects around nouns. Those who have built a level of reputation within the nouns community, their projects are more likely to be the ones that are upvoted for receiving the funds. So if someone came in and had a really good idea, or maybe they've already done something for the Nouns ecosystem, but they're asking for retroactive funding, how do they get their proposal seen above more reputable people? When Base launched its first on-chain summer, Base Paint was my favorite project. Just love the fact that not only because it was pixel art, but I really loved the whole idea. I think it's a really good example of collective venturing. Base Paint made it really easy for anyone to participate, whether you're an artist or not. Anyone can easily contribute to a canvas. Your contributions are logged by pixel count, and when it's minted, you share in the proceeds based on the number of pixels you contributed.
Yeah, and I think one of the cool things also about Base Paint that we are hoping for other models of collective venturing is that ease of participation and potentially that ease of gaining reputation. In Base Paint, anybody who has a brush, which isn't too hard to get, can start painting pixels. And all you need to start doing is regularly contributing cool pixel art and maybe chatting in the chat and introducing yourself, and you can eventually earn an artist brush, which enables you to make more impressive pixel art. So I think that's been previous challenges around DAOs or nouns, as you said, to gain reputation starting from zero. The grind to get noticed is very hard, but if there's these avenues on a small scale, you can see everything that's being built in terms of not just a large group, but also small subgroups, small projects, small efforts that are open for you to contribute to, then it will be a lot easier for you to find places where you feel like you can add value. I think the accessibility for anyone to contribute on a small scale and start building their reputation without needing to have thousands of Twitter followers or WordCast followers to try to get noticed, that's pretty important and what makes a good collective venturing.
It's making it a low barrier of entry for people to participate because people want to participate. During the last cycle, everyone was really excited about joining communities and being a part of a DAO around, this vision that I'm aligned with. I want to be a part of bringing value and contributing to the success of the DAO. And it's not for money, it's just because you love the project so much and you just want to do something. But it was so hard when 10,000 people are dropped into a Discord and it's chaos. You didn't know how to participate sometimes. if you wanted to jump from community to community, which we often were, you're almost starting your reputation over in each Discord, right? You need to get to know new people, new core team. You got to orient yourself and then figure out, okay, how do I participate? How do I add value? It's like starting from zero in every Discord.
So the way of carrying a reputation with you that's tied to what you've done and not just something external, LinkedIn or Twitter you can point to, but something that's more concrete. I feel like we're taking our learnings from the last cycle where people came into the space because of art, culture, community, broader range than developing protocols or infrastructure. And, a lot of people were there to make money, flip NFTs, like trade, whatever. But there was a decent cohort of people that I think they wanted to make money too, but they also wanted to be a part of something they cared about. How can we handle an incoming wave of people who want to participate in a way that's much better than in the last cycle? We want people to be able to find a way to participate easily and their contributions be valued. And even if the project ends, they still have something to show for it in terms of reputation and public on-chain proof of the work they've done.
When I talk about all the work that I did in the last cycle, I feel like I did a lot of free work and then didn't really receive credit. But if you think about it another way, I learned from the experience. So what I got from it was knowledge. And of course, like the friends you made along the way. A lot of the people that you're friends with now are still in the space.
Yeah. I was thinking part of the things we're trying to solve or trying to make better is people might think that's just the way it is. Because the last cycle, I didn't leave with nothing, but not too much to help me propel to the next thing or to get involved in something new. Because so much of the posting and social media I did from the company account, not from my own account. I didn't do very much to boost my own reputation. And that's how working for a company always has been. You get a salary, you might get a bump in your title or something. You might have some professional connections, but you don't have that much to really help you go into the next thing. And I feel like, yeah, that's the way it's always been.
I struggle with this too. I am just a private person. I'm not a social media influencer. I get it might be part of the thing now. I'm just not always broadcasting every single thing. You're contributing to public goods. You're contributing to open source projects. As someone who's not a developer, all that work is not really visible. All your contributions are not seen or credited. I can continue to do the behind the scenes work, but it would be nice that it was all documented somewhere. And yeah, it's not about broadcasting your credit, but just receiving the credit for the work, right? It's like the movie credits at the end. There's so many people who work on a project, and most of those people, besides the movie stars and the director, you don't know who those other 300 people are, but they got the credit for the work that they contributed.
Yeah, you can point to your place on the credits, right? Yeah, it makes me think how the current setup for building in Web3 really, in terms of gaining reputation, favors the developers and the social people. The people who can be the talkers, the good posters who can tap into the zeitgeist or get a trending post or cast and have that cool factor or whatever that people want to follow. Those are the kind of people that have been favored right now. So yeah, what I think we're hoping of open collaboration is there's just so many other ways you can express yourself and express your contribution and showcase your contribution and gain a reputation, even if it's in a certain context of people who have a certain skill or who are interested in a certain topic. You can make valuable contributions and express what you've done in a more varied way.
We all have ideas, but we don't always explore all of them. This different way of working is experiment in getting some of these ideas to reality. Be a part of the process. Be a part of contributing to ideas that you're interested in. So you're doing work that is meaningful and perhaps even on your schedule, your time. I think there's people who would want that.
Yeah, I think it's become a common practice amongst developers that there's nights and weekends projects, but I think it's not so common for other fields, other interests to have your nights and weekends project. It could become more the norm. Instead of watching another Netflix series, you find something you want to participate in.
The best job to have is to be an entrepreneur, where you have basically all the powers of being an entrepreneur, but you don't have the overhead costs. You're being empowered to innovate within a company. Now, what if we could take that same thing and apply it to solopreneurs, right? Enabling entrepreneurs to innovate, but providing them the resources. It's funding, it's people, it's marketing. What we've been talking about is if we have this collective, this open collaboration, people can bring their skills together and accomplish this. That's the vision I want to see come to life.
Yeah, plus one of the downsides of being an entrepreneur is depending on what the company wants to give you, you might get a bonus or additional stock or something potentially, but you might get nothing. You might just have your salary and be happy with doing a good job being an entrepreneur. That's why people, I think, go the hard path of being an entrepreneur is partially for the excitement. You get to fully choose what you want to do. You aren't beholden to any higher ups killing your project or saying no, and really having that full ownership, and then also having the financial upside. And I think what we're hoping is to find a nice marriage of the two where you can have more independence. You can always fork a project and you can potentially have some financial upside to what you're creating.
It's that high agency, high ownership thing, right? If I had to have a corporate job, then I want to be an entrepreneur because I would be able to innovate within the company and have the resources. But like you said, as an entrepreneur, what I lose is my rights. So the patent is owned by the company. Maybe you get a bonus, but maybe it's just your salary. If we can empower, just basically help more people become entrepreneurs, giving them the resources, and then they'll have high agency and high ownership.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's sort of like a tried and true playbook of how you create something in the world, like the playbook for a software startup, but there's also a playbook for opening a restaurant or whatever. So I think what I see collective venturing offering is another pathway for creating value in the world, for creating good things in the world and doing it together with a group of people, that it doesn't need to only fit within the startup paradigm or the nonprofit paradigm, but we can do other sorts of things.
The future I want to see is almost like we're all individual entities, where each individual is their own business entity. As individual entities, we collaborate with other individual entities, but we can freely move between work and we collaborate with different people. We have ownership over the value that we create, and we share credit with those who we co-created with. The current state is having everyone conform or standardize, kind of like this one-size-fits-all path. Whereas so many things just in the consumer world, what we buy, the type of experiences we buy into, it feels all very customized and personalized, yet going back to the whole work thing and the way we work, it feels outdated.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing a desire for people to change. The rise of freelancing and the young generation aspiring to be TikTok and YouTube creators. There's definitely a desire for people to sort of have some independence, some creativity in their work. You know?
Okay, so I don't know exactly how this all works, but just as an example, hairstylists rent their area underneath maybe a salon's brand. I think about this in terms of lawyers too. Lawyers share maybe this law firm's brand or partnership, an agent underneath this bigger real estate agency, but people are individual entities. Everyone's sharing resources, have a bigger pool, bigger opportunity of customers. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's cases that exist now, but it's not really available for all the different types of work. What if other models were applied?
Yeah, that's also, I think, the potential for what protocols can provide. There's certain things that you can't compete with the incumbent businesses because they have the benefits of scale economies. They're already doing it with like providing internet or mapping street views through protocols and crypto economic incentives. They're kind of like creating these huge infrastructures that would be impossible for a small company to do, but by people collectively coordinating through these tools we have and blockchain tokens and payment systems, that they're able to bootstrap this whole large scale project. I wonder what other sort of scale problems will be able to be tackled with things like this that enables individuals to like have their own participation within the protocol and get compensated for it, but together you're all doing this large scale thing without a huge corporation owning it. Instead, it's like a decentralized protocol owning and governing it. It feels to me like this is the ideal time for collective venturing or the internet native business to really take off. We tried it last cycle with DAOs and NFT communities, but we didn't have layer twos. We didn't have a lot of development that kind of made transactions cheap to make much sense to put a lot of information on chain. We're getting there to be able to do these sort of coordination games around creating economic flywheels, coordinating work in more interesting ways than we've done before. And then plus there's the US seemingly becoming a more friendly regulatory environment that we might be getting clarity on how to use tokens and how to prevent yourself getting in trouble with securities laws, but still being able to create business-like structures using tokens and using blockchains. The development of AI is also a huge benefit. We can potentially see AI agents being able to help coordinate these collective venturing projects in a way, surfacing high-value things that might be missed or helping guide how to distribute funds or how to vote or just lower the friction. It could be still too early. It could be my hopium giving me the feeling like now is the time for this to succeed. But I also feel like we've seen little glimpses of it succeeding. So I feel like within the next decade for sure. Yeah, I'm hopeful that we can at least get one shining example of collective venturing in the next year or so that kind of can awaken people's imagination for what's possible and get people excited about the potential for this sort of ways of work, ways of creating value in the world. There is some potential challenges that regulatory things get held up. I think also the big challenge with collective venturing when you're bringing in potentially lots of people into creating something together is kind of this noise versus signal challenge, or high quality contributions versus openness to contributions, where you need the value that is being created by the collective venture being able to generate enough income, enough value capture in kind of the business lingo, like value creation and value capture, to be able to flow back to make a continuous incentive for more value creation. If you have this incentive for come contribute to this project and you get X amount of ETH for your value, if people are doing low quality work, it's not going to create enough value to create a true flywheel, right? But if people come, believe in the mission, are doing high quality work, creating work that's of value, and we're able to create this economic flywheel to be able to flow back into more incentives for more value creation. It's a challenge for sure, because, to be able to avoid people trying to free ride to get some income. I think that's another reason it lends itself really well to like purpose-driven projects where people really care about what they're creating together. And also it lends itself to building a reputation. You want to do good work because you want to gain reputation. It's why people do good free work on open source projects. Having this sort of open ledger of your past history of work, I think, is also an incentive beyond the economic one for people to really do good quality work, create things of value. So I'm hopeful that we will have a simple enough, easy enough, cheap enough user experience where people can come in and do work and contribute to projects and get enough adoption of people doing good work that we'll be able to get at least a few breakout successes of collective venturing. I'm most excited about seeing a bunch of projects that are collective venturing. I scroll through the GitHub dashboard and I see, oh, this person started this repository. These are popular projects among people you follow. I want to go scroll through and see people throwing out ideas, contributing to ideas, and people just building things together in more than just code, but graphics, media. Yeah, in every sort of way, physical projects, people building things they love collectively together and being able to pitch in myself on the projects I most care about. That's what I'm really excited about.
Back to, I guess, our whole thing of why we're building what we're building is just unlocking potential. Seeing people reach their full potential, seeing passions and ideas come to life. That's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
And why we're building public goods. I'm just really passionate about social impact. What's driving and motivating me and what is so interesting about the technology is that it doesn't matter what socioeconomic background or where you are in the world. It just allows anyone and everyone to work together for the greater good.
This has been the first of our Season 2 series about collective venturing. The next one coming up, we have Gloria from 𝗕𝗏, and I'm really excited for you all to hear that. We're going to be exploring this idea of collective venturing over the coming months, people creating together, sharing upside, creating positive sum relationships between each other. Make sure to subscribe. We're on all sorts of platforms for podcasts, also YouTube, and of course, Twitter and Farcaster. Hope you enjoy following along on this journey with us.